Hello and welcome to the Kundalini podcast. That was Zen. This is Tao. I'm Vivek Kovekar. This is episode 81. Namaste. I just made an episode earlier today, so this is my second episode of the day. A little change of setting. I'm in Venice Beach, and this new series, I'm still at a stage where I'm getting comments once in a while, a few views here and there. So today I got a feedback comment, and that was in a very interesting question. Thought I'd address this and make another video. So the comment was about someone who asked me, what does it feel like to have a Kundalini awakening? And obviously I have discussed this in detail in my previous episodes, but I guess it's time to recap and talk about this once more at the very basic stage. So I had my Kundalini awakening in 2006. It's like a sudden rush of energy up your spine. And this is the same energy that has been called Chi, Prana, or Kundalini energy, or the Holy Spirit in different scriptures. What happens when you have an awakening is, the best way to describe it is, you get illuminated. The words enlightened and illuminated have been used. But they come with a lot of baggage. People start expecting certain behaviors from people because these are loaded terms that have multiple connotations. So, do you act like the Buddha or do you act like Jesus are the most common themes. And I struggled with that a lot. I grew up in a religious family without being very religious myself. So when the awakening happened, it was as much a surprise to me as anyone else. And I woke up without any idea of how to do the right practices to awaken, which is yoga and breath practices. But then you have to do them to be able to cope with the energy. Otherwise, it's really difficult. And that's why these methods have been put in place by several religions. For me, it was a process of catching up. So now the energy is doing its job. Now, what is it doing? First of all, it is completely autonomous, and the energy moves around in your back like a snake. It is energy. It is not any physical being that's in your body, but it moves like a snake would, or like water in a garden hose that's flopping around. You have to have a very limber back, a good grasp of breath practices, and you have to do all of those things diligently. It's a process of trial and error, but you have to do them, whatever you know, to make sure that the back is limber and you can still stretch, flex, release the energy, guide it to where it's going. It is doing it automatically. You could have blockages that don't allow it to do it to the best of its ability. And for that, you have to make sure that you go along with the process to the best of your ability. And I'm doing that. I have to. If I'm healthy, walking around, making this video, not feeling hurt, that means I have succeeded in doing what the energy wants me to do. I have no escape from it. Or escape is not the right word. I have no respite. It keeps moving in my body all the time. The good news, after doing all of that and putting up with the tough stuff, it is like your sink in your kitchen or a shower is being cleaned. It was clogged before. It had all kinds of gunk, hair, and nasty stuff. It's all built up inside the pipes. And those pipes are cleaned now with soap and water and foaming stuff that completely removes all the junk. And it's clean water again flowing through it. The pipes are clean. There are no blockages. Everything is functioning. The tap is functioning the way it is supposed to. It's not like a little leaky faucet. It's full blast of water coming out because everything is working fine. So imagine the human body without one of these awakenings to be a system of meridians that has gunk built up. What I mentioned a couple of videos ago was how we keep accumulating pain and trauma and suffering because we haven't bothered to remove any of the past trauma, past anxieties, and all of them become junk in your emotional body. So as this is removed, more and more of your centers are functioning well for the first time in your life. The Kundalini awakening has been compared to a larval stage, a caterpillar, and then becomes a butterfly. A more appropriate analogy I have found through personal experience is, it is like a car where the owner didn't take care of it really well, didn't do a good job of changing the oil, and was actually not a very good caretaker of the car. Didn't know much about it, just knew a car has to be driven. Doesn't know oil has to be changed, doesn't know the filter has to be changed, that they have to check for tire pressure, etc., etc. Now, with an awakening and more and more of this junk is cleared up, your body is functioning better now, physically, mentally, emotionally. You're grasping more of what you were missing out on. Something tells you, hey, pay more attention to your surroundings. Don't just listen to everything that people tell you. Hey, you were doing this wrong. It's individually different for each person. But the person at the end of the awakening process, and it can be pretty harsh, but the person that comes out at the other end has that junk removed, whereas unawakened people, no matter how smart they are, no matter how well-intentioned their motives are, just don't have access to something that is automatically cleansing them. See what I'm saying? Now, some people are pretty smart. They never accumulated that much junk to begin with, or had better ways of coping with that automatically and remain in a pretty good state mentally. They haven't overreached and done some things that, might be hurtful in the long run in the first place. So some people are pretty high functioning to begin with. But what an awakening and the consequent snake moving through you, cleansing your nadis, etc. gives you is not comparable to even the best functioning people who either lucked into it or were doing good practices to begin with and kept a pretty good body, pretty good shape that they are in, physically, emotionally, mentally, all of those things. This is like another level. So the analogy I can draw is of everyone living on a canvas. Let's say human beings were all two-dimensional and they're living on a canvas that was been painted. Another person is about to awaken and become a three-dimensional object. Some people know about this process, others have heard of it, but nobody can actually grasp the transformation into becoming a three-dimensional object if you're stuck in a two-dimensional. There's no way, right? So that's the best way to describe it. It's without the baggage of being a Jesus, being a Buddha, being any of those things that people expect you to be. Yes, you're going to be something like that. So a two-dimensional object and a person living in that two-dimensional world now is suddenly three-dimensional and understands and says, this is something I could never have grasped in just those two dimensions. But now, one part of that person, the physical body, still remains in the two-dimensional reality. Other people are still connected to that person. And they look different to this person who is now accessing something else. Best way to put it. The human body and how you look on the outside pretty much stays exactly the same. And your interactions with people change from your end, but not necessarily from their end, except that they now are trying to grasp, what does this mean exactly? How are you different? You don't respond to the same stimulations, same provocations, same interactions would have been very different, full of conflict, friction, or your anxieties and insecurities popping up, and this time they don't. That is one thing. Something is different about this person. Your creative ability starts to increase exponentially. You start acting differently, absorbing different things, consuming different things, either from your diet of watching movies or how you consume pop culture to your actual diet of what you eat when you're hungry. All of these things are happening non-stop, whether somebody wants to go along or not. But if you go along and actually learn those yoga practices, it's going to be a smoother ride for you. And then you're like, hey, why not? And that means giving up a lot of bad habits, which other people from the two-dimensional reality may not understand. Like, these are bad habits. Hey, this I do every day. What, now you're too good for this? Simple things like, okay, maybe I don't want to go to the bar and get drunk every weekend. Sometimes I will, but less often. And more likely, I'm going to make it a mindfulness exercise of consuming a glass of wine, pairing it with the right food, more in the moment. You become spiritual even in that kind of enjoyment. And you're not just about, let's get blasted and have fun, crank up the music. May not be the best thing that you like to do. Not that you're against it, but a process of illumination has put you in a different realm, a different way of thinking. What are some of the other things? Well, I have mentioned in the past that the physical part of it, coping with an awakening, coping with a process like that unfolding in your body, can be difficult to deal with. So there is pain, there is suffering there. Some of your past associations have to be removed because some other reality is waiting for you that is better. And it is difficult as it is happening. It's just like the junk removed from that sink that I was talking about, or a shower. The process of removing the junk and actually digging into that mud and the dirt and putting the cleaning fluid, cleaning solution in there, all of that is a dirty, icky process. And that process is still guiding you towards something better, but you don't see the results right away. So that can be traumatic. That's the dark night of the soul. Oh, all this is happening, that is really bad. My back broke, it's hurt, I can't do certain things physically. Why is this emotional stuff and this drama? Oh, why do I have to keep doing these breathing exercises, etc., etc., become the daunting task for you on a day-to-day basis. It becomes annoying to go through that all the time. But you know that something at the other end is a better reality waiting for you. The caterpillar doesn't know that, oh, butterfly, that's what it is like. Oh, wings. I never even had this concept or was even aware that this could happen. Same as the 2D person becoming a 3D object, right? But I am happy to report that 7 years later, I'm starting to see clues and patterns of how to assimilate this in the best way possible. Be different, but not be afraid of it. Wholeheartedly surrender to the process, no matter what hardship it brings. And sometimes stay away from those things. Like, I enjoyed this in the past. Why not go and just enjoy and go along with people that I love? They want me to go out and party.
Actually, you know what?
And you become like, no, let me hold back a little, have some restraint. Maybe this is not right for me. God bless all of them. Let them do what they're doing. That's their reality. That's their journey. And I'm not on that journey anymore. Those can be difficult adjustments to make sometimes. They all lead to great results because you still have to live with your own mind that is now changing, your own transformation that is constantly happening, and the requirements of this handicap that has now become a reality for you on a day-to-day basis. Handicap, blessing, all rolled into one. It's how you play your cards, how soon you're going to get the good parts of it. It all depends on how much restraint you show and how much turning away you do from habits that would have led you to your old past life again, which was not conducive to a good, healthy environment for you. So that's the best way to explain what an illumination process feels like actually. How is your day-to-day reality different from that of a regular person after an awakening? This is a bit of a synopsis of that. I hope I've done a good enough job of explaining it. These are the analogies that come to mind. And like I said, not all fun and games, but definitely worth going through the suffering, showing some restraint, not going in directions that you would have gone to in the past, and making gradual changes to accept this blessing, to accept the blessing portion of it, and see the way that the higher power is showing you, which, oh, I was keeping myself away from this or not looking at this. And just by bringing my attention, my focus into what is now being shown to me, I am now slowly adjusting to this new reality, and it is blissful. Oh, I'm glad I got out of some bad patterns. No matter how attractive they seemed, on the surface, they were toxic to me. And they were toxic all along, not just to the awakened me. But the awakened me has shown that they were toxic. And it became obvious, like, oh, that's just common sense. I should have seen this before. Also a part of illumination. You see the bigger picture, even in your own life and in your surroundings, which would not have been obvious to you had you remained on the same path and continued on the same journey as before. I hope that was helpful. A little light on the process of illumination, what it feels like to live it on a day-to-day basis, what are the sacrifices, what toll it takes. I hope that was helpful. Peace, love, blessings to everyone. Be well.